G'day ladies and gents and welcome back to Aussie Real Talk. If you're here in Australia, boot up your Stan account and let's take a look at BBC and Stan's newest miniseries, Lord of the Flies. Last year, Jack Thorne took the world by storm with the global sensation Adolescence, a series centred on a young boy investigated for the murder of a female classmate. It tackled toxic masculinity, misogyny and social pressure head on, sparking worldwide debate. So it's no surprise Thorne would be drawn to adapting one of the most prolific novels of all time, a story about young boys and the fragility of societal order. Lord of the Flies follows a group of British school children stranded on an uninhabited island after a plane crash. No pilot, no teachers, no adults. Taught in schools across the world, the novel famously explores how quickly civilization can crumble and be replaced by savagery. Power struggles, mob mentality, leadership, inner evil, and the loss of innocence all come into play as the boys await rescue. Unlike previous adaptations, this miniseries unfolds across 4-hour-long episodes, each centered on a different character: Piggy, Jack, Simon, and Ralph. It's a smart idea on paper. The familiar plot remains, but we gain new perspective through shifting protagonists. For a story this well known, that's a clever approach. Though at times, the show perhaps tries to be a little too clever for its own good. The series makes several bold stylistic choices that feel more concerned with aesthetic experimentation than storytelling. The fisheye lens and deliberately blurred frames, particularly in the first episode, are clearly meant to heighten discomfort and disorientation in audiences, matching that of the children. Instead, they're distracting. Rather than immersing me, they pull me out of the experience. The colour grading is another major swing. Saturation is heavily manipulated. Blues shift to green, plants turn red, trees go black. The island itself seems to morph in tonal palette. If there's symbolism at play, it's lost in the execution. It feels less meaningful and more like an attempt to appear profound and artsy. The editing also leans heavily into experimental territory as well. Extended sequences with minimal dialogue, layered with music, cut between animals, foliage, and close-ups of the boys' faces, as if we're meant to absorb some grand thematic revelation. Instead, it makes the pacing uneven and the narrative feel disjointed. That said, the core story and character archetypes are faithfully adapted. The boys are heavily recognisable, and most of the performances are solid. But David McKenna, in his debut role as Piggy, is in a league of his own. He's exceptional, vulnerable, intelligent, heartbreaking. The miniseries also introduces flashbacks for each of the main boys, giving us insight into their families and upbringings. We see what shaped Jack, what informs Ralph's compassion, what drives Simon and Piggy. It's an interesting addition, but it raises a key question. Did these characters need that context? The original novel presents the collapse of civilization as an almost inevitable outcome of human nature. Some boys just lean towards order, others naturally towards chaos. By giving Jack in particular a sympathetic backstory, the show itself risks softening his role as the antagonist. His descent into brutality doesn't need justification. Sometimes that stark moral contrast is just the point. Still, there are genuinely electrifying moments. The hunt for Ralph in episode 4 is tense and gripping. Piggy's final arc is extended, and every second of it lands emotionally. The use of mud and face paint to signal the boys' transformation into savagery is visually strong, and injects needed energy when the series begins to drag. The score, clearly reminiscent of The White Lotus, is effective when restrained, creating an eerie, atmospheric mood. But when overused, which is a lot, it becomes intrusive and annoying. Real talk, this Lord of the Flies is an ambitious and visually bold adaptation of a literary classic. It remains faithful to key characters, plot beats, and thematic foundations, and there are moments of real emotional power, particularly thanks to a standout performance from David McKenna as Piggy. However, the relentless stylistic experimentation, jarring lens choices, aggressive colour grading, overindulgent editing, and an inconsistent script often pushes the series into experimental art piece territory rather than delivering a clean, confident adaptation of a story that became a classic for a reason. It's a mixed bag. There's innovation here, but also overreach. Aussie Real Talk gives Lord of the Flies a 2.5 out of 5. What's your favourite adaptation in recent years? Let us know in the comment, and if you like this review, please feel free to like and subscribe. Cheers.